Hello, everyone. Apologies. Technology can definitely definitely get the best of us. If you have not joined us before, technology, yeah, it tends to get us sometimes. But we are here. For those who are joining, my name is Candice Miles. I go by Coach C, and I am the founder and CEO of No Gap Consulting, where I empower the next generation of Black women who are entering into leadership for their very first time with the skills, confidence, and the tools they need in order to succeed. And today I have my co host here, Miss Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Haley. I am CEO and founder of Transition to Infinite Possibilities, where I help career professionals elevate their energy and elevate their careers through career techniques, whether it be interview or just navigating your career through everyday life. So, Candice, let's tell the folks why we're here.
Yes. So, those who are joining us for the very first time, this is Lighting the Torch series, where we are two different generations lighting each other's torch because we want to definitely make emphasis on that it doesn't matter what generation you're in, you're able to light each other's torch. And that's exactly what we're doing here by doing that and by providing you some practical tips at the end. So, you better stay till the end. I'm representing the millennials. So let me go ahead and say that to all my millennials. And I'm an elder millennial. I've had this conversation over the last couple of weeks about what kind of millennial. We call ourselves the elder millennials since we are closer to the 40 side. But Cindy, I will let you go ahead and kick us off. What are we talking about today?
Well, let me just say I represent the Gen X perspective. So it's a little more wisdom on this call as I come through with the Gen X perspective. But we are talking about, are you truly irreplaceable or just waiting to be replaced? And of course, we're primarily talking all things workplace environment. So think about this in the context of when you're at work on your job, constantly, getting accolades and saying, hey, you're doing a great job. Oh, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Do you consider yourself irreplaceable and getting comfortable in what you're doing now? Or do you consider yourself replaceable, meaning you're just waiting to be replaced? So I'm going to say this one thing and then I'm going to punt to you, Candice. I read this article and it said, when you're getting all of these accolades and people are championing you and all this good stuff, telling you what you're doing right and, we can't live without you. It said, don't confuse being irreplaceable with being hard to replace. Let that sink in, let that marinate for a little bit. Don't confuse being irreplaceable with being hard to replace. There's a difference because if it comes down to the wire, we all know this happens in corporations and businesses where it's down to the money, and sometimes leaders and businesses, they have to make hard decisions. You may feel like you're irreplaceable because of the type of work you do, but in fact, you might just be hard to replace and they'll bite that bullet and deal with whatever comes next. So Candice, we came up with this topic and we thought about it from a lot of different angles. And I wanted to start there with just the mindset around being irreplaceable or hard to replace, or you just waiting for the shoe to drop and you just going to stay there until you are replaced. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think if we really talk about the word, like, let's just really dissect the word irreplaceable. Irreplaceable to me has changed over, throughout the generations. Because irreplaceable for me, especially coming into the workforce, was the go-to person.
Right.
The person that got all the answers, the person with the secret sauce. They've been there for a minute. They're hard to be replicated and everything like that. But now for me, thinking about irreplaceable, it's not that. It's Are you able to pivot? Are you
Right.
innovative? Do you come
Mm-hmm.
with ideas? Now, that's something that's truly irreplaceable versus the kind of, um, I guess, the definition of what the workforce looked like, where when you thought, okay, this person, it will never be irreplaceable. Well, actually, now those people that were your go-to person can be replaced, because
Right.
if you're not continuously evolving, you are not up to speed where we're at. Holding on
Mm-hmm.
and hoarding all that information is not going to keep you where it, I would say, back then it would have.
Right. Let's talk about that workplace hoarder. Anybody, if you're listening, just give me a thumbs up, give me something that says, or share your experience in the comments around um, how you have dealt with that workplace hoarder. Sorry about that. If it's someone who takes all of the information, is not sharing, a new person comes on board, they're afraid you're going to take their space, and they don't want to tell you how to do the job. So it creates some tension, right? Simply because the root cause in this scenario is fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear, and we have a comment in on LinkedIn that says it sounds like a great opportunity to explore insecurities and strategies for career growth. That absolutely. Lots of insecurities tend to show up with what I call workplace hoarders. Have you
Yeah,
had a
because
workplace hoarder, Candace?
oh, I think we all have. If you've been in the work, if you have been working for a while, yes, and
Mhm.
I would say, no offense to any other generations, but coming into the workforce, it was typically the my tenure, the ones that had seniority over me, not wanting to provide information, especially pivotal information that was needed in order for me to get my job done, which made me feel like I wasn't I wasn't performing at the meet expectations without having to go through hoops and loops and everything like that, because I had to figure it out on my own, all because that hoarding. But I think it also too touches on what you talk about when it comes to energy. Like you hoarding
Mhm.
stuff, we can feel your energy with that, and that
Yeah.
brings in toxic energy into the workplace, where that person that's irreplaceable, they come into the room, starting new conversation, get the conversation started. Like you, that's not something everybody has. But you
Right,
coming in
right.
thinking that I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna hoard this information. No, that type of energy is no longer being accepted in the workplace.
So let's talk about maybe a tip or two on how to handle that person. I'll kind of kick us off with that, right?
Mhm.
So the workplace hoarder, again, we're describing this person as someone who feels like they've been there long enough, they have all of the knowledge, they're what some people might even call the single point of failure, because they are the person with all of the knowledge, all the information, they own that process. New person or someone else is looking to learn from this individual and they don't want to share. Oftentimes, what I see is an opportunity to build a relationship. So before going in with, hey, I need this process, I need you to tell me everything you do and why you do it and how you do it. Right. So what happens? Defense mechanisms come up. People they shut down, they're not listening, and they're not wanting to engage. So I feel like there's an opportunity to start by one, building a relationship with the person. Get to know them, some of their background, what makes them great at what they do, where their experiences come from. If they're comfortable getting on a personal level, what's something that excites them? What keeps them happy? Trying to really connect And you may find that you have a commonality, or a common interest. And then you start to break down those walls. So when it's time to start sharing information, some trust has been established, that connection is there, and they might be a little more willing to bring you along. Even if they don't give you everything, they may start to share just a little bit to bring you along on the journey. And you just have to keep um, maturing that relationship, is what I would suggest.
I would say the
Got any
same
thoughts
exact
there?
thing. I would say the same
Mm-hmm.
exact thing, but you know my little creative mind that I
Go
always
for it.
have.
Yes. You mean your millennial
Like
mindset?
my my creative mind would present it in a way where, like, yes, it's trust, but also to like a declutter session. Hey,
Mm.
let's see what exactly is currently what we're currently doing. Everybody bring in what they know about this process, and let's declutter, because now what it's presented in a way of, hey, we're all working together. Hey, we're all trying to move forward. Hey, we are all trying to see how we can be a little bit more efficient. And it includes that workplace hoarder to you with their knowledge that they already have, but it's presented in a way of, hey, we're just going to declutter. We're going to declutter
Mm-hmm.
in order to move forward. But again, it's the same thing that you're saying. It's just presented in a different way, where it's allowing them to provide that information without it feeling like I may be coming for your job.
Being attacked. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so one element there too is there's the voice of a manager that you just shared, kind of making them
True.
feel inclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how to make them feel part of the team. And now you're driving change, and part of that change you'll need to embrace, right? But we have to start by chipping away at what we currently do to see how we could do it better. Then there's
Mm-hmm.
just the peer-to-peer relationship. And sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
peer-to-peer relationship can be a little bit difficult. But I want to pivot a little bit on this topic, knowing we could go on and on and on, right? Um, but when we think about being irreplaceable in the workforce, the one question I do want to ask our viewers, if the shoe dropped today, would you be ready? Because in many cases, people get so comfortable because they feel they are irreplaceable. They're the only ones doing the job, right? And this company can't go on without me.
Mm-hmm.
Decisions made. Today is the day. Would you be ready? Meaning, there's a mental aspect of it. Are you prepared? There's a financial aspect of it and being prepared. And then there's just a career readiness aspect, of being prepared. Do you have your resume? If you're on LinkedIn, do you have your LinkedIn profile? If you are, are you networking? What does your network look like? Is it the same people that you came in with as a baby boomer? Or have you expanded your network to be much more diversified?
Yeah,
What are
'cause
your thoughts?
I think what you're definitely talking about is being comfortable, it puts us to a place where we go on autopilot without even
Mm-hmm.
noticing that we're just really going along in the motions. Getting up, I get up every day. This is something I do, but to always be prepared, that's another thing. To
Mm-hmm.
always continue to make sure that you're doing the work on outside of just the four walls of your, if you're at home, four walls of your home, four walls
Right.
in the office, but to avoid being an autopilot. And I think a lot of people get into that stance of like, I'm just on autopilot, I'm just going to be okay. But then when that shoe falls, like you said, what have you done to prepare? and a
Right.
lot of people haven't. I'll be
Mhm.
honest. I got so comfortable in my and in my previous role where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna leave on my terms,
Mhm.
or whatever the case is. But I didn't necessarily update my LinkedIn. I did not keep my resume updated until I was ready to start moving. It wasn't something
Mhm.
that I was always open to, when in reality we should always be looking for something, looking, I would
Yeah.
say, better. But that goes back to what I was saying earlier about you continuously growing. If you feel like
Mhm.
you're in autopilot right now, then it's probably either something that you need to shift to get out of that autopilot mode, or
Yeah.
it's time to move on yourself instead of
Mhm.
waiting to be replaced.
Exactly. There's a we talk a lot about owning your career, right?
Mhm.
And being in the driver's seat, as you like to call it, right?
Mhm. I sure
Um
do.
and so I've always shared with my teams or people who've been on my teams, um, just because you explore options doesn't mean you're committed to those options until you get that offer and you say yes, right? Looking at job opportunities, looking at roles that are out there on job boards like LinkedIn doesn't commit you to it. That's just doing your research, exploring what's out there in the marketplace today. And also getting a sense of how can I prepare? If this is not a role I'm capable of right now, how can I prepare myself to be in a role like this, right? Or to be
Mhm.
qualified or eligible for a role like this. And so I always tell people, be exploratory, get out there, look, just to see what's there, right? Because when you get too comfortable and too complacent and that shoe drops, there's a feeling of just being lost, right? Feeling lost, feeling hopeless, feeling like I don't know what's going to be next for me. And when those emotions start to take over, in many cases, it gets in the way of you actually moving forward to the next opportunity.
Mhm.
It may show up in interviews. You may still be feeling lost. You get the interview, but you're still feeling lost. So I would say to someone listening now, don't get too comfortable. You might be the star player on the team. You might be the one who, as I said earlier, people consider the single point of failure. But always know, stay ready. Position yourself to stay ready so that, as they say, you don't have to get ready. If you're on LinkedIn, when you get off this call, go to your profile. Is your profile accurate? Is it current? Do you have a profile picture? Things like that. What can you do today to set
Mhm.
yourself
And
up?
yeah,
Go ahead.
continuously like update it. Like every skill that you do that you're learning, update that, because
Mhm.
you never know who's looking for that. I think the to talk about the waiting to waiting to be replaced, it makes me think about 2020. Going back to that moment, a lot of
Mm-mm.
people lost their jobs. Gratefully we had those stimulus checks that came in to help people, but it was a lot of that was an anomaly to happen in this right now current time that we're in. However, that should have definitely taught, like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm always ready and prepared. But
Mhm.
I feel like since 2020 we're getting back to what we feel like the norm is, and getting
Yeah.
back to how we were. So waiting to be replaced, like you said, always be looking, but don't feel like you're disloyal to your
Oh,
company.
that's the other. Yes, loyalty. Let's talk about
Loyal,
loyalty. Loyalty, loyalty,
like you're not
loyalty.
being disloyal. You're not. The only person you're being disloyal to is to yourself, because you know that you're looking for
Yourself.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It made me think. Oh, sorry, it's kind of cutting out a little bit. Um, but is company loyalty still a thing?
Mhm. Who you talking to? Me?
Do are people still loyal? Well, I know. I already know your answer. But
It
to your
depends.
going back to 2020, I think I'm going to say no. Um, there was once upon a time people would say, "Don't leave that job. Don't you leave that job. You better hang in there because the pension is good. Oh, you don't know what's on the other side. The grass isn't always greener on the other side." You know, which I said, heck
Mhm.
no, no loyalties. Some people
Mm.
say, I can't take PTO. I got to be to work. I'm the only one.
See,
Take the PTO.
it depends on what you do, what position you're in. Like it depends because if you just clocking in, clocking out, you probably like, no. But when it comes to you being in a leadership role, yes, exactly what you said goes through your head. Like, oh my gosh, if I leave, then such and such. Always thinking about the what if versus okay, but your self care, your cup is empty, and you just sitting here trying to drink that last little bit of sip that's in there, but you over here thirsty because you can't even
Mm-hmm.
replenish yourself. But yeah, I don't loyalty, no.
Yeah,
I don't, and I think it's really who you talk to
right.
when it comes to
Now
loyalty.
you can appreciate the organization you work for. You can find value in what they offer you. You might embrace the organization's culture. But when you start talking loyalty, meaning I'm a ride or die till the wheels fall off, I don't think that exists anymore. You really have to start putting your needs first and going with what's going to give you balance. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of segueing into how we like to close these sessions, where we do like to light each other's torch or light your torch as a next generation, giving you something that you can take from these conversations, these fireside chats, and continue to have that flame within as you go about your day, go about your career. And with that, I'm going to say, put you first, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and start today making some changes in terms of what you can do to position yourself for the next opportunity. Because again, if something were to happen, be prepared, whether that's mentally, financially, or again, career readiness. What can you do today to set yourself up for success tomorrow? Would be my torch. What you got, Candace? Did I lose you?
Um, no, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Hello?
Yes,
Am I,
yes.
you can still hear me?
I got you.
Okay. Um, I would say to add on to that, to continuously learn whatever skill or whatever your next destination is, because we all have them, and whatever skill that you need to get there, like begin developing that right now. But to stay into the space, the mindset of I'm continuously learning, especially in this digitalized era that we're in. Digital literacy, a digitalized skill, is something that wasn't needed over 20 years ago, but now
That's true.
it's something that is. So continuously take those free courses. Coursera has free courses. I know it's some organization uses Udemy, um,
Mm-hmm.
but to just continuously find something and know exactly what your next step is, but you got to take that step back to figure out what that is first. But just stay in that space of I'm just going to continuously learn, and it doesn't have to be always something huge for you to do. If you're like, I want to learn how to use Google Docs, let me take a
Right.
class. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you're building. That's something you're learning, because you never know. Some organizations are switching over to Google versus staying with Microsoft.
Right.
So just really
Especially
see,
after what
and
happened, right?
yeah, like to do that, and then to look. And part of continuously learning is I listen to podcasts, find podcasts that you have, that you may find that's interesting to you, that person. But also to like stay on the up and up. What I used to tell my team is, to think about futuristic. Where are we headed in the future?
Mm,
What is this job going to look like in the future? And then let's reverse engineer it and figure out exactly what you need to do in order to make sure that you're there.
right. Yeah, that's
So
good.
that's
Good advice, right? It's like looking ahead and starting to make those steps. And what I'll say, to our more seasoned generations, there is life beyond where you're at today. There are opportunities available for you beyond where you are today. It's easy to get caught up and think, oh, I have to stay. They're going to need me here. No one knows it, or no one's willing to learn this type of role. Um, I would say challenge that mindset and continue to push forward, because there are opportunities. And as Patti LaBelle used to say a long time ago, don't block your blessing. So, with that, I think we can wrap this up
Mhm.
and call it a night, an evening. We want to say thank you to everyone who joined in. We appreciate you continuing to support our Lighting the Torch Fireside Chat series, where Candace and I are coming with different everyday topics that can help you navigate the workplace. And if you have any feedback for us, want to share some thoughts on what we could talk about next, we certainly are open to that. Or just tell us how you feel. Did it
Mhm.
resonate with you? We're open to your feedback and we want to know more. Candace, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I'm just hot.
So that's another day's story, everybody. All right. Well, we're going to
Yeah,
let you and we're going to let everyone enjoy their evening. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.